The Korath homeworld was a dark planet. Its sky was always gray. Its cities were built from black stone and metal. For 300 years, it had been the center of an empire, a place where other species feared to go. Now, 40 human warships hung in orbit above it, silent, waiting on the surface. Billions of Korath looked up at the sky and felt something they had never felt before. Fear. Admiral Dong Su Lee stood on the bridge of his flagship and studied the planet below. He could destroy it. His weapons could burn every city, kill every person. It would be easy, but that was not why he came here. "Admiral," said his communications officer, "the Korath government is requesting a meeting. They want to discuss surrender." "Who is requesting?" "High Advisor Meltha. She claims to speak for the Korath people now." Dong Su raised an eyebrow. "Not the Emperor?" "The Emperor has been removed by his own generals. They refuse to fight anymore. Smart of them." He thought for a moment. Then he nodded. "Tell her I will meet her on my ship. She may bring 2 guards. No weapons." 1 hour later, Meltha walked through the halls of the Earth's Fury. She was smaller than most Korath, and she walked slowly. 2 guards followed her, but they looked more scared than she did. She was led to a large meeting room. Admiral Lee was waiting there, along with several officers. In the corner stood Yuna Park, the colony administrator who had been rescued from Theta-9. Mel _THA stopped when she saw Yuna. Their eyes met. "You are one of the colonists," Meltha said. "From Verdant 7. Yuna nodded. "I am. I am sorry for what my people did to you." Yuna did not respond. Her face showed nothing. Admiral Lee gestured to a chair. "Please sit, High Advisor. We have much to discuss." Meltha sat. Her guards stood behind her, trying not to look at the humans. "I assume you know our terms," Dong Su said. "Yes. Return all prisoners. Hand over war criminals. End the slave trade. And?" Meltha closed her eyes for a moment. "And we agree." "All of it?" There was silence in the room. The humans looked at each other. "That was easier than I expected," Dong Su admitted. "It is not easy," Meltha said. "It is necessary. My people have built our entire culture on conquest and slavery. That is now over. It will take generations to rebuild ourselves. Many Korath will suffer because of this change. Many people suffered because of what you did. I know, and I am not asking for sympathy." Meltha looked directly at the Admiral. "I am asking only for one thing, something that you have every right to refuse. What is it?" "Mercy." Dong Su leaned back in his chair. "Explain. You could destroy our world. You could kill billions of us. After what we did, many would say you have the right." Meltha's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking slightly. "But I am asking you not to. Not for our sake. For yours. For our sake? The galaxy is watching. Every species knows what the Korath did to you. They know you could take revenge. If you destroy us, they will fear you. But if you show mercy—" She paused. "They will respect you. They will trust you. That is worth more than any revenge." The room was quiet. Dong Su looked at his officers. Then he looked at Yuna. "What do you think?" He asked her. "You were there. You suffered more than anyone. What should we do?" Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Everyone waited. "I spent weeks in their prison," she finally said. "I saw children in cages. I saw people treated worse than animals." Her voice was hard. "Part of me wants to watch their world burn." Meltha lowered her head. "But," Yuna continued, "that is not who we are. We did not come here for revenge. We came for our people. We came to bring them home." She looked at the Admiral. "We are not like them. That is what makes us better." Dong Su nodded slowly. Well said. He turned back to Meltha. We accept your surrender. Your war criminals will face human courts. Your slave stations will be destroyed. Your empire is over. Meltha bowed her head. Understood. But we will not destroy your world. We will not kill your people. That is not our way. For the first time, Meltha showed emotion. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. 3 days later, the prisoners came home. 200 colonists from Verdun 7 landed at the main spaceport on Earth. Millions of people came to watch. The crowd cheered so loud that the sound could be heard from kilometers away. Families ran forward to embrace their loved ones. Parents held children they thought they would never see again. Couples kissed. Old friends hugged. Una Park stepped off the transport and looked around at the crowd. She saw faces she knew, faces she loved. She started to cry. A little girl ran through the crowd. It was one of the children from the cages. Her name was A Young, and she was 7 years old. She ran straight to Sergeant Hyam-Woo Beek, who was standing near the transport. You came back, she shouted. You really came back. Hyam-Woo knelt down and smiled at her. I told you I would. Ha-Young hugged him. She would not let go. Behind them, a Galactic Council observer named Arth watched everything. He was from a species called the Velmar. They were old and wise and tried to understand everything in the galaxy. He walked over to Admiral Dong-Su Lee. May I ask you something, Admiral? Dong-Su nodded. You won. Completely. The Karth Empire is finished. You could have taken their planet, their resources, their technology. Why did you not? Dong-Su looked at the crowd, at the families reuniting, at the children running and laughing. Because that is not why we fight, he said. We do not fight for territory. We do not fight for power. We fight to protect our own. Once our people were safe, the war was over. Arth was quiet for a moment. In all my years, I have never seen a species like yours. You are peaceful, but you are dangerous. You are kind, but you are fierce. You are confusing. Dong-Su smiled. That is probably accurate. The Council would like to offer humanity a seat, a place among the great powers of the galaxy. You have earned it. We will think about it. But first, I want to go home. I have not seen my family in a long time. Orith bowed. Of course. Enjoy your peace, Admiral. You have paid for it. 5 years later, a Karth child sat in a classroom. The teacher was talking about history, about the Great War that ended their empire. Why did we lose? A student asked. We had more ships, more soldiers. We were stronger. The teacher was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. We did not lose because they were stronger. We lost because we did not understand them. What do you mean? We thought they were weak because they liked peace. We thought they were soft because they grew food and built homes instead of weapons. We were wrong. She walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, humans were still living their peaceful lives. Building, growing, loving. Humans do not fight for land or power, the teacher said. They fight for each other. Every human will fight for any other human. It does not matter how far away they are. It does not matter how many enemies stand in the way. They will come. The children were quiet. That is why we should have left them alone. That is why they won. The teacher turned back to her students. Remember this lesson. Some species should not be challenged. Some doors should not be opened. Some wars should never be started. She looked at the young faces staring up at her. The humans are our neighbors now, our equals. Perhaps one day our friends, but never again our enemies. Because if there is one thing we learned from that war, it is this. She paused. You should have left the humans alone. Now, you know why. The children nodded. They understood. And across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, humans continued their lives. They farmed. They built. They loved. They laughed. They did not want war. They never had. But if you took their people, if you hurt their children, if you threatened what they loved, they would come. They would always come, and you would not stop them. The news of Theta 9 spread through the Korath Empire like a disease. A slave station destroyed. 20 ships gone. Human prisoners rescued. And the human fleet was still coming. Emperor Krathel sat on his throne and tried to understand what was happening. In 300 years, no one had ever attacked the Korath like this. No one had ever dared. How? He demanded. How did they defeat our ships? His generals looked at each other. No one wanted to speak first. Finally, one stepped forward. Their weapons are more advanced than we expected, my lord. Their ships are faster. And their tactics. They do not fight like other species. What do you mean? They do not retreat. They do not pause to negotiate. They simply attack. Again and again. Without mercy. The emperor slammed his fist on the arm of his throne. Then we will crush them with numbers. Send the main battle fleet. 200 ships. Destroy them all. High Advisor Melfa stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed fear. My lord, I must advise against this. You again? Krathel growled. What is your wisdom this time? The humans have fought these kinds of odds before. In their history, there's a battle called Thermopylae. 300 of their warriors held back an army of thousands. They all died, but they did not surrender. So they are fools who love death. That will make killing them easier. My lord, please. Maltha was almost begging now. This is not a species that can be defeated by force alone. Look at what they did for 200 colonists. Imagine what they will do for revenge. The emperor stood up. He was very tall, and he looked down at Maltha with contempt. I am tired of your fear. Leave my presence. I will handle this myself. Maltha bowed and left. But she did not go to her chambers. She went to the communications room. She had to find a way to stop this war. Before it was too late. In the darkness of space, the two fleets moved toward each other. 200 Korath ships. 40 human ships. By any normal measure, the battle was already decided, but nothing about this war was normal. Admiral Dongsu Li stood on the bridge of his flagship. The Earth's fury. Around him, officers monitored their screens and waited for orders. Admiral, said his weapons officer, enemy fleet will be in range in 15 minutes. Their formation? Standard Korath attack pattern. Heavy ships in front, support ships behind. Dongsu smiled slightly. They are using the same tactics they have used for 100 years. Ji-1 Han, the intelligence officer, nodded. They expect us to try to run or negotiate. They do not understand why we keep advancing. Then let us teach them. The admiral pressed a button on his console. His voice went out to every ship in the fleet. This is Admiral Li. In a few minutes we will engage the enemy. They outnumber us 5-1. They think this will be an easy victory. He paused. They are wrong. We fight for our people. We fight for our children. We fight because we do not know how to surrender. Today, the Korath will learn what happens when they attack humanity. All ships, attack formation. No quarter. The fleet moved forward. Not in a defensive pattern. Not trying to escape. They went straight at the Korath. On the Korath flagship, Admiral Vonak watched the humans approach with confusion. What are they doing? He asked. They must know they cannot win. His second-in-command shook his head. Perhaps they have lost their minds. No matter. All ships, Open fire. Blue energy beams filled space. Hundreds of shots streaked toward the human fleet. Some hit. Human ships took damage. But they did not stop. They kept coming. And then they fired back. Human weapons were different from Korath weapons. They were smaller but faster. And they were incredibly accurate. Every shot hit its target. Every missile found its mark. The first Korath heavy ship exploded. Then the second. Then 3 more at once. Admiral Vornak stared at his screen in disbelief. How? How are they hitting us so accurately? Sir, their targeting systems? They are better than ours. Much better. Then move faster. Get out of their firing lines. But the Korath ships were not built for speed. They were built for intimidation. Big and scary. Perfect for making weak species surrender. Useless against an enemy that did not care about fear. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, 112 Korath ships were destroyed. The rest were running away. The human fleet had lost 8 ships. 8 ships against 112. On Earth, billions of people watched the battle through cameras on the fleet ships. A reporter named Narration provided the commentary. Her voice was steady, but there was emotion in it. The Korath main fleet has been defeated, she said. Our forces are now moving toward the Korath homeworld. This is not just a rescue mission anymore. This is a message. A message to every species in the galaxy. You do not attack humanity. You do not take our people. Because if you do, we will come for you. No matter how far, no matter how long, we will come. Across the galaxy, other species were watching too. The Dorvan, who had been slaves of the Korath for 50 years. The Solari, who paid tribute to avoid destruction. The Krell, who still remembered their defeat generations ago. They watched the humans win. And they began to hope. In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives from 100 species gathered for an emergency meeting. What do we do? Asked the Dorvan representative. Should we try to stop them? Stop them? Laughed the Krell representative. Did you see what they did? They destroyed the Korath fleet with 40 ships. 40. But if they conquer the Korath Empire, then maybe we will finally be free. The council debated for hours. In the end, they decided to send an observer to the human fleet. Not to interfere, just to watch. They wanted to understand this species. These strange beings from a small blue planet, who preferred peace but made war like no one else in the galaxy. On the Korath homeworld, panic was spreading. The Emperor's great fleet was destroyed. The humans were coming, and there was nothing to stop them. Emperor Krathel sat alone in his throne room. His advisors were gone. His generals were hiding. Only Meltha remained. I told you, she said quietly. I told you they were different. Silence, the Emperor growled. But there was no power in his voice anymore. Only fear. What will you do now, my lord? I will fight. I will die fighting. Maltha shook her head. If you fight, billions of Korath will die with you. Is your pride worth that? The Emperor did not answer. Maltha turned and walked toward the door. Where are you going? He demanded. To contact the humans. To beg for peace. Someone must do it. And it will not be you. She left him alone in the darkness. An emperor with no empire left. A conqueror about to be conquered. On the bridge of the Earth Fury, Admiral Dong Su Lee received a message. It was from Meltha. Admiral, G1 read the message aloud. She wants to negotiate. She is offering complete surrender. Dong Su was quiet for a long moment. Tell her our terms. Return every human prisoner. Hand over every Korath involved in the raid. Dismantle all slave stations. Close the slave markets forever. And if they refuse? The Admiral looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Korath homeworld waited. Then we continue until there is nothing left to refuse." He turned to his crew. "We did not start this war, but we will finish it. One way or another." The fleet moved forward, toward the final battle, toward the end of an empire. And the galaxy watched and remembered. This is what happens when you hurt humanity's children. This is what happens when you break their peace. This is what happens when you should have left the humans alone. The message from Verdant 7 spread across Earth like fire. Within 1 hour, every news channel was talking about it. Within 2 hours, crowds gathered outside government buildings. They held signs and shouted, "Bring them home." By the 3rd hour, the President of Earth called an emergency meeting. Admiral Dong Su Lee stood in the War Council chamber. Around him sat the most powerful leaders on Earth: presidents, generals, admirals. They were all talking at once. "We should negotiate," said one leader. "The Korath Empire is powerful. We cannot fight them directly." "We should pay the ransom," said another. "It is the safest way to get our people back." "We should file a complaint with the Galactic Council," said a third. "Let them handle it." Dong Su listened to all of them. Then he spoke. "I have read reports about the Korath," he said. His voice was quiet, but everyone stopped talking to listen. "They have attacked 37 species in the last 100 years. Do you know how many of those species fought back?" No one answered. "0, Dong Su said. "Every single one tried to negotiate. They paid ransom. They filed complaints. They begged for peace." He paused. "Do you know what happened to them?" Again, silence. The Korath took more. Every time a species showed weakness, the Korath took more prisoners, more planets, more everything. Because that is what predators do. They smell fear, and they attack. He walked to the center of the room and looked at each leader. "I am not suggesting we fight. I am telling you that we must fight. If we show weakness now, the Korath will come back. They will take more colonies, more children. They will think humans are easy prey." The President of Earth stood up. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were hard. "What do you need, Admiral?" "The Third Fleet, 40 warships, 12,000 soldiers, and permission to enter Korath space. That is an act of war." "They already started the war," Dong Su said. "I am just going to finish it." The vote was not even close. Every leader agreed. The Third Fleet would launch within 24 hours. Far across the galaxy. In the dark halls of the Korath Empire, a different meeting was happening. Emperor Krathel sat on his throne. He was the largest Korath anyone had ever seen. His forearms were thick with muscle, and his red eyes glowed in the dim light. Around him stood his advisors, generals, and servants. "The raid was successful," reported a general. 200 humans captured. They are being transported to Slave Station Theta 9. "Good," the Emperor said. "What is their value?" "High, my lord. Humans are rare in the slave markets. Many buyers are curious about them." Krathel smiled. His teeth were sharp and black. "Excellent. And the human response?" "Nothing yet, my lord. They will probably send a diplomatic message. Perhaps offer ransom, as expected." The Emperor waved one of his hands. "Prepare to demand payment. Triple the usual rate. They are a wealthy species." A quiet voice spoke from the shadows. "My lord, may I speak?" Everyone turned. High Advisor Meltha stepped forward. She was smaller than most Korath. Her eyes were a lighter shade of red, almost orange. She was the only Korath who studied other species, not for conquest, but for understanding. "What is it?" The Emperor asked, annoyed. "I have studied the humans," Maltha said. "I have read their history. I do not think they will pay ransom." General laughter filled the room. One admiral stepped forward. Every species pays ransom. The Dwarven paid. The Solari paid. Even the mighty Krell paid in the end. The humans are different, Maltha insisted. Their history is filled with war. They have fought each other for thousands of years over small pieces of land. They have died by the millions for ideas, for flags, for honor. So, they are violent, the Emperor said. That does not mean they are strong. We have the greatest fleet in the sector. My lord, please listen. Maltha pulled out a datapad. Look at these records. The humans have never surrendered in a war. Never. Even when they were losing, they kept fighting. They would rather die than submit. The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was very tall, and he looked down at Maltha with cold eyes. You are afraid of farmers? Of traders? These humans build colonies and grow food. They do not even have a proper war fleet. They have spent the last 50 years in peace. Because they chose peace, Maltha said. Not because they cannot make war. The Emperor turned away from her. Enough. I do not have time for your fears. The humans will pay or they will lose more colonies. Either way, we win. Maltha bowed and stepped back into the shadows. But she did not stop watching her data screens. 3 days later, she saw something that made her blood run cold. My lord, she shouted, running into the throne room. My lord, look at this. The Emperor was meeting with his generals. He looked annoyed at the interruption. What now? Maltha held up her datapad. The screen showed a map of space. And on that map, 40 dots were moving. They were moving fast. And they were heading straight for Korath territory. The humans, she said. They are coming. The Emperor took the datapad. He studied it for a moment. Then he laughed. 40 ships? I have 200. This is not a threat. This is suicide. My lord, those are warships. Heavy warships. They're weapons. Their weapons are nothing compared to ours. Let them come. We will destroy them and take more prisoners. Perhaps we will raid Earth itself next. Maltha wanted to argue. She wanted to show him the reports of human military history. The battles where humans won against impossible odds. The wars that should have ended in surrender, but instead ended in total victory. But she knew the Emperor would not listen. She returned to her chambers and watched the human fleet on her screen. They were not slowing down. They were not sending diplomatic messages. They were not asking for negotiations. They were just coming. Silent, fast, certain. Back on Earth, Jai One Hand stood in the command center of the fleet flagship. She was the intelligence officer for this mission. Her job was to know the enemy. Admiral, she said to Dong Su Li, I have completed my analysis of the Korath Empire. Tell me, they are strong but slow. Their ships are large but not fast. Their tactics have not changed in 100 years. They expect enemies to surrender. And when enemies do not surrender? G1 smiled. It was not a nice smile. They have no idea what to do. They have never faced a species that fights back with full force. Their entire empire is built on fear. Dong Su nodded. Then we will show them what happens when fear stops working. The fleet crossed into Korath space. There were no warnings, no announcements, no demands. Human ships simply appeared and began destroying everything in their path. The first Korath border station fell in minutes. The second fell even faster. By the time the Korath High Command understood what was happening, 3 stations were gone done in her chambers. Maltha watched the destruction with wide eyes. Her hands were shaking. They brought their entire fleet, she whispered to herself. 40 warships. 12,000 soldiers. All of this. For 200 colonists? She finally understood what the humans were. They were not prey. They were something much, much worse. And now it was too late to stop them. The morning sun rose over the green fields of Verdant 7. It was a beautiful day. The sky was clear, and the air smelled like fresh grass. Farmers were already walking to their crops. Children were getting ready for school. It was a peaceful colony, far from the busy planets of the inner systems. Una Park stood on her balcony and watched the sunrise. She was the administrator of this colony. 5,000 people lived here, and she was responsible for all of them. It was a quiet job. Nothing exciting ever happened on Verdant 7. That was why she liked it. Her communicator beeped. It was Taeho Kim, the head of security. "Good morning," she said. "What is it?" "Probably nothing," Taeho replied. "But our sensors picked up something strange in orbit. Some kind of interference." Una frowned. "Interference? From what?" "I do not know. It could be a solar flare. Or it could be—" The sky turned dark. Una looked up, and her heart stopped. Ships. Dozens of ships were coming down through the clouds. They were not human ships. They were black and shaped like insects. They blocked out the sun. "Taho," she whispered. "What is that?" His voice came through the communicator, now filled with fear. "Get to the shelter. Now. Those are Korath ships." The Korath. Una had heard stories about them. They were a species of conquerors. They traveled through space and attacked weak planets. They took prisoners and sold them as slaves. But they stayed far from human space. They had no reason to come here. Until now. The first explosions hit the eastern fields. Una saw fire rising in the distance. She heard screaming. People were running in every direction. Parents were grabbing their children. Old people were trying to move as fast as they could. Una ran down the stairs and into the street. She had to get to the communication center. She had to send a message to Earth. "Everyone, stay calm," she shouted. "Go to the shelters. Security will protect you." But there was no security. Taeho had only 20 guards. They had small weapons meant for criminals, not for war. As Una ran through the streets, she saw his men trying to fight back. They fired their weapons at the Korath soldiers coming down from the ships. The Korath were tall, almost 3 meters. They had gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were red, and they wore black armor. They moved fast, and their weapons fired beams of blue light. Taeho's guards fell one by one. Una reached the communication center. The door was locked, but she had the code. She ran inside and sat at the console. Her hands were shaking as she typed. "This is Verdant 7 calling Earth," she said into the microphone. "We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Korath forces are landing on our colony. We have no defense. Please send help, please." She sent the message through the quantum relay. It would reach Earth in seconds. But help would take days or weeks to arrive. By then, it would be too late. The door behind her exploded. Una turned and saw a Korath soldier standing in the doorway. He was huge. His forearms held a weapon pointed directly at her. "Human," he said in a deep, grinding voice. "You will come with us." Una did not run. There was nowhere to run. She stood up straight and faced him. "What do you want?" she asked. The Korath laughed. It was an ugly sound. "We want you. All of you. Your species will make good slaves." They dragged her outside. The colony was burning. Bodies lay in the streets. Una saw her people being pushed into lines by Korath soldiers. Men, women, children. They were crying and screaming. A larger Korath walked toward her. His armor was different from the others. It had gold markings on it. He was clearly the leader. "I am Commander Vethra," he said. "You are the leader of this place?" Una nodded. She would not show fear. Not in front of him. "Good," Vethra said. "Then you will tell your people to stop fighting. Some of them are being difficult. They are hurting themselves. Yuna looked at the burning buildings, at the dead guards on the ground. You attacked us. You killed our people. What did you expect? Vethra laughed again. I expected soft prey. And that is what I found. Your people cannot fight. Your guards are dead. Your weapons are toys. He leaned closer to her. Humans are weak. Everyone in the galaxy knows this. You build farms while others build empires. You talk while others conquer. He grabbed her arm with one of his 4 hands and pulled her toward the ships. How many? Yuna asked. How many are you taking? 200, Vethra said. The young ones and the healthy ones. The rest are not worth the fuel. 200. 200 people. Families would be torn apart. Children would never see their parents again. They pushed her into a transport ship. Inside, she saw the other prisoners. They were sitting on the cold metal floor. Their hands were tied. Some were crying. Some were just staring at nothing. Yuna saw a young woman holding 2 small children. The children were maybe 5 and 7 years old. They looked terrified. It will be okay, Yuna told them. She did not know if it was true, but she had to say something. The ship lifted off. Through a small window, Yuna watched Verdant 7 grow smaller below them. Her home, her beautiful, peaceful home. Now it was burning. Commander Vethra stood at the front of the ship. He looked at his prisoners and smiled. Do not worry, humans, he said. You will be sold to good owners. Some of you will work in mines. Some will clean houses. Some will do whatever your masters want. He laughed. This is what happens to weak species. This is the way of the galaxy. No one answered him. What could they say? But somewhere far away, on a blue planet called Earth, a message was arriving. Admiral Dong-Su Lee was sitting in his office when the alert came through. He read the message from Verdant 7. He read it again. His hands tightened into fists. He picked up his communicator and called his second in command. Wake up the War Council, he said. His voice was calm, but there was something dangerous in it. Something cold. Sir? What happened? The Korath took our people. 200 civilians. They took children. There was silence on the other end. What are your orders, Admiral? Dong-Su Lee stood up and looked out his window at the stars. Get me everything we have. Every ship. Every soldier. We are going to bring our people home. He ended the call and turned back to the message. The last words of Yuna Park were still on the screen. Please send help. Help is coming, he said quietly. And so is war. Slave Station Theta 9 floated in the darkness of space. It was an ugly place. A massive metal structure where living beings were bought and sold. For 300 years, the Korath had used it to trade their prisoners. No one had ever attacked it. No one had ever tried. Until now, Commander Vethra stood in the control room, watching his screens with growing fear. 3 human warships had just entered the system. They were not big ships, but they were fast. Much faster than anything the Korath had. Contact them, Vethra ordered. Demand to know their purpose. His communications officer sent the message. The response came quickly. This is Captain Su Bin Choi of the assault ship Relentless. We are here for our people. Release them now, and you will not be harmed. Vethra laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. They think they can threaten us. We have 20 defense ships. We have thousands of soldiers. He grabbed the communicator. Human captain, you are making a mistake. Surrender now, or we will destroy you and sell your crew as slaves. There was a pause. Then the human voice spoke again. You had your chance. The first Korath defense ship exploded. Vethra watched in shock as human missiles tore through its hull. The second ship tried to turn, but it was too slow. Human weapons hit it from 3 directions at once. In 12 minutes, all 20 defense ships were gone. "Impossible," Vethra whispered. "This is impossible." The human ships moved toward the station. Smaller craft launched from them. Landing craft, filled with soldiers. All units to the docking bays. Vethra shouted, "Prepare to repel boarders." On one of those landing craft, Sergeant Hyam Wubik checked his weapon one last time. Around him sat his squad, 12 Marines. The best soldiers Earth had ever trained. "Listen up," Hyam Wu said. "There are 200 civilians somewhere on that station. Our job is to find them and bring them home. The Korath will try to stop us. They will fail." His soldiers nodded. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were hard. The landing craft hit the station's hull. The door blasted open. Hyam Wu was the first one through. The corridor was dark and smelled bad. Korath soldiers were waiting at the other end. They opened fire immediately. Blue energy beams filled the air. Hyam Wu moved fast, faster than the Korath expected. He rolled behind cover and returned fire. His rifle made sharp, cracking sounds. 2 Korath fell. His squad poured into the corridor. They moved like water, flowing around obstacles and covering each other. The Korath were bigger and stronger. But the humans were trained for this. They had spent years learning how to fight in close spaces. "Push forward," Hyam Wu ordered. "Keep moving." They cleared the first corridor in 2 minutes, then the second, then the third. On her command ship, Captain Subin watched the battle through cameras attached to her Marines' helmets. "Sergeant Beak, what is your status?" "Moving toward the holding cells," Hyam Wu replied. His voice was calm, even as gunfire echoed around him. "Resistance is heavy, but manageable. Intel says the prisoners are on level 7. There should be an elevator ahead." "Understood. We are almost there." The elevator doors opened. More Korath soldiers waited inside. Hyam Wu threw a grenade before they could react. The explosion filled the small space with fire and metal. "Move!" he shouted. They ran past the burning elevator and found the stairs. Level by level, they fought their way down. The Korath kept coming, but they could not stop the humans. Every time they set up a defense, the Marines broke through it. On level 7, Hyam Wu found the holding cells. They were large rooms with metal bars. Inside, he could see people. "Human people. We found them," he reported, moving to secure the prisoners. But someone else had found them too. Commander Vethra stood in front of the largest cell. He had 6 soldiers with him, and he was holding a weapon to the head of a human woman. "Una Park, stop right there," Vethra growled. "One more step and I will kill her." Hyam Wu raised his hand. His squad stopped. "Let her go," Hyam Wu said. "Let all of them go. And I will let you live." Vethra laughed. It was an ugly, desperate sound. "You are in no position to make demands, human. I have 200 hostages. If you attack, I will kill them all." "No, you will not. You think I am bluffing?" Hyam Wu looked at Vethra with cold eyes. "I think you are scared. I think you finally understand what you did wrong. You should have left us alone." Behind Vethra, something moved. He did not see it. He was too focused on Hyam Wu. One of the Marines had circled around through a maintenance tunnel. She appeared silently behind Vethra's soldiers. 3 shots. 3 Korath fell. Vethra spun around, and that was his mistake. The moment his weapon moved away from Una, Hyam Wu fired. The shot hit Vethra's arm. His weapon fell to the floor. The remaining Korath soldiers dropped their weapons and raised their hands. Una fell to her knees, shaking. Hyam Wu walked over and knelt beside her. "You are safe now," he said. "We are taking you home." Tears ran down her face. "The children. There are children in the lower cells. Some of them, they were hurt." Hyam Wu's expression changed. Something dark passed across his face. "Show me," They went down to the lower level. What they found there made even hardened soldiers stop and stare. The children were in small cages. Some of them were only 5 or 6 years old. They had bruises. They were scared. Some could not even stand up. Haiyan Wu knelt in front of the first cage. A little girl looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. "It is okay," he said softly. "I am here to help. No one will hurt you anymore." He broke the lock and opened the cage. The girl crawled out and grabbed his arm. She would not let go. His Marines opened every cage. They carried the children who could not walk. They spoke soft words to those who were crying. One Marine, a big man with a shaved head, was holding a boy who could not have been more than 4 years old. The Marine's eyes were wet. "Sergeant," he said, his voice thick, "what do we do with the Korath who did this?" Haiyan Wu looked at Commander Vethra, who was being held by 2 Marines. The Korath commander was bleeding but alive. "We take him back to face justice," Haiyan Wu said. "Human justice." Vethra stared at him. What are you?" Haiyan Wu stood up. He was not a tall man, but at that moment he seemed much larger than the Korath commander. "We are humans," he said, "and you made the biggest mistake of your life when you touched our children." The evacuation was quick. The Marines moved the prisoners to the landing craft. Medics treated the injured. The children were wrapped in warm blankets and held by anyone who had free arms. As the ship pulled away from the burning station, Captain Su Bin received a message from Admiral Dong Su Li. "Prisoners secure?" "Yes, Admiral. All 200. Some injuries, but no deaths." "Good. Excellent work, Captain. What are your orders?" There was a pause. Then the Admiral spoke. "We are not done. The Korath Empire must learn what happens when they attack humanity. Set course for the main fleet. We are going to their homeworld." Su Bin smiled. It was not a gentle smile. "Yes, Admiral." "With pleasure." Behind her, the slave station exploded in a ball of fire. 300 years of cruelty ended in a single day. But the war was just beginning.